Berlin Energy Transition Dialogue.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to our BETD evening event. I am so excited to welcome you to our show tonight, and I am also very excited to welcome my co-host, Andreas Kuhlman, the CEO of the German Energy Agency, here on stage with me. Hi, Andreas.
Hi, Geraldine. Hello. Hello, good evening and good morning, good afternoon to all of you who are watching us from all over the world today. It's a virtual conference, so you can't be with us today, but we know that we have guests from almost all continents, somebody just told me. So we are very happy to have you here. This is a very warm welcome from the heart of the capital of Germany. It's a very warm welcome to the official evening reception of the Berlin Energy Transition Dialogue. Normally, as most of you will know, we have like 800 or 1,000 people in front of us celebrating innovation and celebrating this conference. A huge get-together. That's different today, but we try to make our best out of it, and well, that's why we are here. I'm your co-host today, but the main host is Geraldine de Bastion.
Andreas, you give me too much credit. Thank you so much. So, yes, we are so sad that we couldn't bring you all to Berlin, but we do hope that we're going to be able to bring a little bit of Berlin to you tonight. So we're broadcasting live here from the Telecom building in the heart of Berlin, just around the corner from our Federal Foreign Office. And we have set up this little Späti for you here to transport a little bit of Berlin vibe, or corner shop if you're not so familiar with the culture of Spätis. So I'm very excited about the motto that we have for tonight's show, which is Multiperspectivity 2050. Joint challenges meet innovative solutions, and we're going to be meeting a lot of innovative solutions tonight. We're going to be meeting individuals from all kinds of different sectors, from arts, culture, research, politics, and innovation, and learning how they're working to secure a climate-neutral future. So really bringing in different perspectives for you. And we have some exceptional speakers that I'm really excited to introduce to all of you watching us tonight. And we also have some big announcements to make, right, Andreas?
Yes, that's true. And also we bring together people who never met before, and I think that is very important. Of course, as well. Well, tonight several high-level guests of ours will announce the 15 finalists of this year's Startup Energy Transition Award, the Award 2021. We will talk a little bit about the SET Award later, but we are very excited to present those 15 startups because we had more than 500 applications again from 89 countries from all over the world, and everybody's really excited now who will be one of the finalists. But now, at the beginning, to kick off the evening, we are very excited to show you a video from the art installation of artist Christopher Bauder, who is with us tonight in a moment. And he is, I must say, a magician of light. And if you see the little video we have for you, you will probably know what I mean. It is called Dark Matter. His new installation, a parallel cosmos of fantastic light installations in which the boundaries between the real and the digital worlds become blurred. Here it is.
really impressive images that we're seeing there. Let me just introduce the man behind that art to you with a few more sentences. Christoph Bauder is the creative director of a design studio called WHITEvoid, which he founded after completing his studies at the University of Arts here in Berlin. So he has this managerial role at WHITEvoid, but of course he's also an artist, a light and media artist who showcases his art all across the world, and he's joining us tonight.
Well, welcome, Christopher. Can we see you already? I guess the technique will
Hello,
just...
I'm here.
Oh, we can
Hi.
hear you. That's perfect. Because you are not around the corner. You are actually in Riyadh, in Saudi Arabia. Is that true?
Yes, I am.
Yeah, okay, you can tell us a bit about this later on. But we are very happy to have you here as our guest tonight. Congratulations to your new project, Dark Matter. We just saw it, and thank you for sharing us a little insight in this project. And it would be so wonderful if you would be here with the whole installation and we had all these 800 people in front of us, but maybe next year we will see. When it comes to multi-perspectivity, you seem to be an expert. The connectivity and interplay of hundreds of dimensions that you show us with your fantastic light installations is something very, very special. But could you tell us a little bit about the idea behind this Dark Matter project?
Yeah, Dark Matter is a new light experience space. Altogether, it's about 1,000 square meters. We have 7 rooms. It's located in some old factory buildings in Berlin-Lichtenberg, the beautiful Berlin-Lichtenberg. The exhibition features 7 of our light installations that we produced over the course of, let's say, last 20 years. The oldest one is the Tone Ladder. It's an interactive sound installation which I built while I was still studying in Berlin in the Art University. And the newest one is Inverse. It's a kinetic installation that we produced specifically for Dark Matter this year. And there's all kinds of other exhibitions, big ones, small ones. Some are interactive, some are moving. All of them are with music, of course, and with light. And we will be able to hopefully open it at the beginning of May. 7th of May is our planned opening, if politics allow us.
Hopefully, at least via Click and Meet. I'm definitely looking forward to seeing your exhibition. Can you explain to us a little bit, what is it that you would like visitors to experience, to feel? What is the kind of journey you want to take them on through the course of your exhibition?
Yeah, I mean, maybe you can sum it up with, we develop technology that moves, and I mean that in a double sense. So first of all, we are trying to move people through technology. So we're using a lot of motors and lights and computers and a network and so on. But this is all supposed to be in the background. We are trying to evoke some emotions. First, we cut you off from your everyday environment. We call it dark matter for a good reason. You come inside, it's pitch black, it's dark. You're off of the normal environment. And then we're charging you slowly with small experiences, with small triggers. We use light, we use motion, we use sound, we use very abstract means to trigger pictures that you have stored with yourself. Like, for example, we have one view that looks like the sun, but it's just lights, it's just computer controlled, but you have this picture of the sun with you. And so we're trying to kind of take you on an emotional journey.
Christopher, I want to try to draw a little bit of a parallel for some of the topics that we have here tonight. So later we're going to be speaking to journalists, scientists, and activists. And of course, they're trying to bring attention to climate change and open people's perspective up to what that is doing to our planet. So, you know, sometimes in climate change, it's hard to see the big picture, and you sort of feel you get a glimpse of something. And trying to sort of open this perspective, how do you think art can be a contribution and help widen people's perspectives? Like, do you have any suggestions or guidance towards maybe also for our other guests tonight?
Yeah, I think art and culture can be a good platform to debate climate change, even though we're not maybe contributing that much to it. We're not that kind of an industry. But I mean, especially in the time of the global pandemic, we realized that we miss traveling, we miss experiencing new places, we miss nature, of course. And that makes us think about the way we treat nature. And of course, we miss culture and art. And culture gives us joy in life. And it's free of any necessity. You know, it has no real purpose. Art is not essential to survive, as we have learned from our politicians now. So what I'm doing, no one really needs that. But it is essential, maybe even at the core of what makes it worth for us to live. And I believe that through art you can send a powerful message, and always has been a powerful tool to get a message to the people on a different channel. Maybe even make them rethink their lives or their decisions. Art is free of any practical application, but we are still longing to experience it. So it can give us an idea of what's really important in life, like zoom out, enjoy an art piece, and you kind of get a sense of what you're actually longing for. And I think artists and scientists are the forethinkers of the future. They're already imagining, showing what can be happening in the future, what solutions are out there, how can we solve these problems that we are facing now, while most of the people are still stuck in the actual struggle of problems of today. And so I think art provides inspiration and also role models for society to follow.
Christopher, that was a great plaidoyer for really thinking out of the box, actually. And I know that your work really works, because I was part of this big Lichtergrenze, like 20 years after the fall of the wall. Yeah. And it was an exciting, tremendous project. And I'm very sure that your new project here in Berlin, soon coming up, will be successful as well. Thank you very much for joining us, for this little input, but for these very important thoughts. And all the best to Riyadh, and welcome back soon.
Thank you very much, and hope you all can join us at Dark Matter soon. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye. See you.
Oh, I really hope so too. So that's already been a little exploration, a little journey into the world of light art. And our next guest is going to take us on a different kind of journey. So again, we've just experienced some visual entertainment form, and now it's time for some acoustic entertainment form. I'm really excited to introduce to you our musician that we have live with us on stage here today, Ain the Machine. He's a multi-talented person who is known for his unique electronic music performances. And the sort of special thing about the music Ain the Machine produces is that he makes his music using his voice, his body, and other unexpected objects. So really also involving the environment in his art. Ain the Machine, it's fantastic to have you here tonight.
My pleasure. Good evening to everybody. Good evening to you.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
It's really great to have you. Can you take us a little bit inside your personal journey? How did you start making music in this particular way?
Since I was a kid, I always liked to question everything, why things should be done in this way or that way. And yeah, I annoyed a lot my parents with that. But that also led me to question why music needs to always be done with these traditional instruments or in a certain way. And while I was in the search for my own sound identity, I discovered that questioning the way I made music would help me to find my own path and identity. And that's what I made.
That's lovely. And I think, at least this is my take, you know, that's how music started. People started making music with their bodies or with things in their environment before humans invented such things as musical instruments. So you're kind of taking it way back to the roots, but with this innovative technological twist. I find that really exciting.
Exactly. The idea is that to exactly not stay on the traditional or antique layer of the sounds of the body, of the voice and the objects, I needed the technology so I could process these sounds and create new sounds from these sources.
Good.
So we're going to be hearing from you at different points throughout the show tonight, but at the closing of the show, to the grand finale, you have a special thing prepared for us. And I want to explain that to our audience now. So as we said, you use any kind of sound bites to create your music. And tonight you're going to be using the sound bites that people send to you during the show via Instagram to create the final closing piece. So I want to demonstrate to everybody how that's going to work.
Okay.
Basically, all you need to do is to go to Ain's Instagram account, which is Ain the Machine. So it's very easy to find on Instagram. And then when you're on the Instagram page, all you need to do is to click on message. So to send you a message and then send you a little audio recording. So we're going to try that now.
No, you want me to say something?
I want you to say something.
All right. So multiperspectivity is more than just a necessity.
Boom. And there we have it. So I hope you can put that to good use. And let's take it away for your first performance, please.
Okay, let's go.
In the machine, number one. We hear you later again. I saw we are some people here in that room, not so many, just a few, of course, but I saw some bodies moving. That was a good start here. Thank you very much at the moment. But now, I want to introduce somebody else to you, and that is a very special guest, and I'm very, very proud to have her here. It's Anne Mettler. Can we see you? Hello, Anne. It's so nice to have you with us, because I know that you love innovation. And we do love innovation as well at the German Energy Agency. So we are very, very happy to have you with us tonight. And I want to introduce you a little bit. Anne Mettler started her career working for the World Economic Forum, leading the European department. She served the European Commission as the head of the Internal Strategy Department, and as an entrepreneur at heart, she passionately ran her own think tank for over a decade. But that was not enough. Today she is the Vice President of Europe at Breakthrough Energy and works hand in hand with European partners to accelerate innovation in the pursuit of climate neutrality and a net zero emissions future. We heard many things about some of your projects before, here in Germany at least, and all over Europe, I know. Please welcome with me Anne Mettler. Hello.
Thank you so much for having me.
And it's great to have you here in person tonight. Breakthrough Energy, well, we all know this, of course, but only since a while you are very active in Brussels, as far as I know. Can you tell us a little bit about the work you do there and why you decided to start this European office over there?
Absolutely, with great pleasure.
Yeah, we have a little echo here, but they will solve it. Just talk. Okay.
Okay. So about Breakthrough Energy, it was started in 2015 at the time at the COP21 by Bill Gates and some other business leaders. Essentially, they could see already then that work needed to be done to avoid a climate disaster. And you probably know that this is, of course, also actually the title of Bill's new book, How to Avoid a Climate Disaster, the Solutions We Have and the Breakthroughs We Need. So Bill is not coming at this, since yesterday. I mean, he's been thinking about this, I would say now for well over 2 decades. And I think the starting point for Bill and Breakthrough Energy is really, it's sort of the fact that almost half of the emission cuts that are needed to get us to net zero by 2050 will have to come from technologies that are not yet commercialized. So that means maybe they exist today, but they are not commercialized. So they need still a lot of development. And as I'm sure you know, the International Energy Agency also keeps talking about this fact. So there is really an element here around clean technologies that needs to be addressed. And you already said it, I have been working on innovation for most of my professional life. And let me say that the way we measure progress in innovation at Breakthrough Energy is through the concept of what we call the green premium. So that is the cost differential between a clean solution and the incumbent, let's say, fossil fuel solution. And really the goal of our effort is to dramatically decrease the green premium in select technology areas and help bring technologies to scale. In a nutshell, the way you can think about it, the bigger the green premium, so the bigger the price differential, the more innovation will be needed. So to reduce this green premium, we are working across the entire innovation cycle. From the earliest stage, let me just maybe say, we are building a program that sort of helps identify researchers with really promising, groundbreaking ideas. And we're helping these researchers to take these ideas out of the lab into an environment where they can test and validate their research and bring it into a phase, sort of an early deployment phase. But that's, of course, not enough. That's just the beginning of the innovation cycle. So let me say that we also have a very ambitious program at the demonstration phase, at sort of the scale-up phase of the clean technologies. I mean, maybe just to explain that if you look at a typical innovation cycle, you're looking at over 25 years, at least. And we believe that that cycle takes too long. We don't have 25 years. So we really need to think about how do we accelerate it. And that's why we're saying, yes, we need a supply of innovation, but we also need a demand for innovation. So here we have, as I said, we have a program that's working on this, and it's premature to speak that much about it, but this is in a nutshell what breakthrough energy is.
Well, actually, that's very interesting. I like very much that you focused on this innovation cycle, because this is an audience here where we have startups, where we have entrepreneurs, where we have politicians, and I think to better understand what is the innovation cycle and what are the hurdles is very important to really scale up innovation, and that's what we need all over the world. Well, I have the book on my table, actually. There are so many books, but that is right on the top already. But let me ask you, what kind of innovation what do you see? I mean, are there some you would like to highlight, to mention? But before you answer, I mean, I see when I look back over the last 10 years, like every couple of years, something new is popping up, and that is really a sign of hope in my eyes. But yeah, what is the focus you have on innovations at the moment?
Yeah, let me first of all say this is, of course, already the second cycle of clean tech innovation. We had sort of a first one, but that didn't work out too well. And we believe that now we're at the cusp of essentially sort of a technology revolution, the clean tech revolution. But when we speak about innovation, we do it very broadly, and we have what we call 5 grand challenge areas. They are electricity, transportation, manufacturing, buildings, and agriculture. So it's, of course, very important to understand that we're not just talking energy here. I mean, this really cuts across pretty much everything we do. So, and within these areas, we believe that we need to pursue different options to get to net zero. We call this a portfolio approach of technology options. And this portfolio is what I want to emphasize, because let's be frank, many, or at least some of these technologies will fail. Of course, some will succeed, but some of them will fail. And I think we should be very honest about it. So it's very important to spread the risk. So this is a way that we're working is around the technology portfolio approach. Also in our venture fund, it's called Breakthrough Energy Ventures. There's a smaller European component of that called Breakthrough Energy Ventures Europe, and they are really following this portfolio approach as well. So, but let me maybe very briefly and more specifically, I spoke about the program we have on R&D. There we are focused right now on zero carbon hydrogen, electrofuels, zero carbon cement, steel, and fertilizers in this first edition. On the later stage program that I spoke about, in the scale-up phase, we're focusing on 3 technologies. It's green hydrogen, sustainable aviation fuels, and direct air capture. But next up is a long-duration storage, and then also green steel, green cement.
Okay. Well, yeah, I mean, all the sectors you were mentioning, in all these sectors, we see kind of an exponential development of innovation, and sometimes I think it's really interesting to see how these innovations in these different sectors kind of interact, and there's even faster innovations coming up. Sometimes it might be hard to give this innovation the right direction, because not every innovation is good for the sake of the planet, but most of it, and it's our task to really help giving the right direction here. I mean, if you're talking a lot to policymakers, to startups, to innovators, where would you see like the main hurdles or the main challenges? I mean, is there anything you want to give us as an audience from all over the world here?
Yeah. So, I mean, I think that there are 2 sort of overriding challenges. And I say it also as someone originally, I come out of digital tech, and clean tech is actually quite different. Firstly, because it takes a long time from lab to market. Right. I already spoke about this earlier. And it's just too long. If we're really serious about net zero by mid-century, we cannot allow these technologies 25 or 30 years to mature. So that's why we're really working on accelerating the innovation cycle. So first problem, time from lab to market. Secondly, it's what I spoke about already. It's the green premium. So So this has to be reduced if we are really hoping that these technologies will get pick up. What makes this very challenging is that if you think about the products themselves, they're not really differentiated. So clean or green cement, steel, clean fuels, they are not really different from their fossil fuel competitors. They're just significantly more expensive, sometimes 3 to 4 times as much. So what do we do about this? You know, if we wait for normal market dynamics to play itself out, we will wait a long time. And this is why we believe we can do something to sort of organize a little bit the demand side of this. So we're working, for instance, on a buyer's club for green steel. We're thinking about buying down the cost differential. There are many things we can do, but if I have one message today, don't just think about the supply. Think about how you organize the demand.
Yeah, very good. Well, if I follow you, I see you could talk about innovation like for ages, but that's very good actually. And well, I can assure you that the German government also is very much focusing on innovation. I think that is something what we learned over the last 2 or 3 years, that we really have to push for innovation, and also that innovation is available, and we just have to get better eyes, but also have to take care of the right and proper regulations. So that is why, I mean, all these topics you were mentioning are also part of this Berlin Energy Transition Dialogue Conference. But not only this. I mean, we had Ursula von der Leyen speaking here. We had John Kerry speaking here. Everybody was very excited. And, well, I mean, what is your view on this transatlantic alliance of the options we might have again after we had a pretty dark perspective for the last 4 years?
Absolutely, absolutely. So let me first of all say we are very excited, obviously, about what's happening in the US right now. We're delighted that the United States is back in the Paris Agreement, and also, let's say, really back in the clean tech race. I mean, that's one thing to really consider here. I have to say that I think Breakthrough Energy is really uniquely positioned to facilitate between both sides of the Atlantic. And what I personally will say, and here I speak a little bit more with sort of coming from the perspective of public policy, we need leadership right now. We need courage, and we need investments in these new technologies. And in my opinion, Europe and the United States are in pole position to get serious about really scaling these technologies, doing more than just announcements, really making it happen through projects in the ground, and to take that first step, because we need geographies to come together right now to show we're working together on this. We're doing something, beyond just making more announcements. And here I have high hope that, for instance, through the European Commission spoke about a Green Tech Alliance. I don't know exactly what form it will take, but my feeling is that the opportunity is huge, and that we need something like this, not only in advance of the Earth Day summit that John Kerry is organizing in April, but particularly in advance of the COP and in the run-up of the COP26 in November, where we really need to get serious about a lot of what we're discussing here this evening.
Yeah, okay, the Transatlantic Alliance is a good start, but it needs to be bigger, of course, at the end. But we have so many countries going for climate neutrality in this year, and so we can be very positive about the outcome, maybe. So, but we all have to push it. Well, thank you, Anne. Well, maybe just some quick words about the very next steps you have on your agenda.
Yeah. So, I mean, I always say we need to connect the dots. The fact is a lot is happening, but we now really need to bring the right actors together. Let me say that I am, maybe tonight is a good opportunity to announce actually that we'll be working with Dana to create a Tech for Net Zero Alliance. And this alliance will convene leading innovators from Germany, including research institutes, venture funds, startups, corporations, students. And I think hopefully we can work together to raise the voice of these innovators in the policy domain. It's particularly important this year with the elections coming up. I know we'll also have the Tech for Net Zero Alliance will be supported by a content partner, 1.5 Degrees Ventures, which is a Berlin-based climate tech venture builder. So we're very much looking forward to working with Dana. We look forward to working with you, Andreas. And if I have one message, it's really, let's make it happen. If not now, then when? Germany is, in my opinion, in pole position. It plays to Germany's strength. It's about deep tech. It's about entrepreneurship. It's about engineering. And that's why I'm looking to Germany for leadership in this very critical and important year.
I mean, if I wouldn't be the co-moderator of this event, I would, probably create a breakout session and go with you in that breakout session and have another talk later on. But the Secretary of State, Andreas Feicht, is already in the room. He was listening, and I think he will probably join our alliance later on. Thank you very much for being with us, and a very inspiring speech, really fitting perfectly to this evening. Thank you very much, and all the best.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Well, I totally understand that you would want to carry on that discussion, so much passion.
There's more to come.
But thanks for not leaving me here, Andreas. But congratulations to that new partnership. We have now reached that point of the evening where we're going to actually begin announcing those 15 finalists for the SET Awards 2021. But before we begin, I just want to give a little bit of background about the SET program, maybe for those viewers who aren't so familiar with it yet. So, the Startup Energy and Transition is a global platform that really supports energy transition and innovation in energy transition. Its aim is to really deepen productive connections between the different stakeholders, so between established corporate players, the public sector, and the world of energy innovation. It connects these stakeholders via the platform in order to rapidly scale the adoption of clean energy technologies. So that's the aim of the platform and the program itself. And of course, the Startup Energy and Transition Award is the international competition for startups and young companies worldwide that are really shaking up the global energy sector and forming our way into energy transition and trying to stop the climate from changing in a negative way. So it's the kind of creme de la creme of the startups of the world that come together there and that we're going to feature. As you said, we had 543 applications from all across the world this year from 89 countries. So I'm just recapping those numbers that Andreas mentioned earlier because I find them so impressive. And the SET list of 100, so the 100 top startups from that list of applicants, that was published last week. And you can check out their pitches throughout the BETD week. And I really encourage you to do so because apart from the 15 finalists, there's some other great companies in that batch. Yeah, and now we're going to begin with the announcement of the finalists in the first category, and that is clean energy generation.
And a very special laudator for this is the already mentioned Secretary of State, Andreas Feicht, who is also kind of the host of this whole conference together with the ministers, of course. So thank you for just coming over. It's just a cornerstone away, the conference room. Well, what is your impression of the first day of this conference?
Well, quite satisfied. It's a success. It's not easy to organize such a big conference purely virtual, but we are quite happy and a little bit proud that this BETD has become a leading international conference when it comes to energy transition. So we're quite happy.
So I think it's very important to even do that in Corona times, or especially do it maybe in Corona times. Feedback is good so far, as you mentioned.
Feedback is great, and from not only from the participants, but also from the panelists and all the speakers. You mentioned it. We had Ursula von der Leyen here, the president of the European Commission. We had John Kerry here, a lot of ministers, about 40 or 50 ministers, SET secretaries from all over the world. So quite a success, I would say. Okay.
Well, Mettler spoke about leadership, and I must say, because you are really a supporter of our Startup Energy Transition project, not only in spirit but also in money, because such a project needs money. That is already enough leadership for the moment, but you even have more leadership because you will introduce the finalists of the first category. So thank you again, and the floor is yours.
Thank you. Well, I'm very honored to kick off this BETD evening reception highlight, announcing the SET21 finalists in the first category, Clean Energy Generation. Clean energy generation solutions have already come a long way. There has been an incredible progress in generating clean energy over the last decades. However, there are still so many more opportunities in this field that was always shaped by innovation. This category calls for smart technologies and solutions to innovate the way we generate energy. The jury members have carefully evaluated this year's applications and selected 3 startups to become SET21 finalists. It is my honor to now announce the 3 finalists in the category Clean Energy Generation. Finalist number 1 is Ecoligo from Germany. Ecoligo enables businesses in emerging markets to use clean energy. With a fully financed solar-as-a-service solution, Ecoligo makes it easy for businesses to go green and lower their energy costs. Finalist 2 is Wingy from Switzerland. Wingy's artificial intelligence-based software platform analysis, reports, forecasts, and calculates recommendations to improve production and overall performance of individual renewable assets and entire portfolios. And finally, finalist number 3 is PowerUp from Estonia. PowerUp produces hydrogen fuel cell-based electric generators and proton exchange membrane fuel cells. Their generators have diverse use cases in industries such as marine, telecommunication, military, construction, hospitals, off-grid homes, and rescue forces, to name a few. Congratulations to these 3 finalists and good luck for the coming journey. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much,
Thank you.
Mr.
Thank you very
Fey.
much.
Thanks so much for being here, and congratulations, of course, from our side to the finalists as well.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Appreciate it. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm extremely excited to welcome our next guest live on stage here with us. Dr. Antje Boetius is director of the Alfred Wegener Institute Helmholtz Center for Polar and Marine Research. She heads a joint research group for deep sea ecology and technology at the Max Planck Institute for Marine Microbiology. Antje has received multiple awards like the German Environmental Award and is also chair of the steering committee Science in Dialogue. Welcome, Professor Dr. Antje Boetius. It's fantastic to have you here with us tonight. You have been, as a polar deep sea researcher, on over 50 expeditions, as I understand, in international vessels. But tonight you're here with us in Berlin and exploring our little Späti stage with us. Thanks for being here. Before we begin with our conversation, we want to get some visual impressions of the kind of work you do, and you've brought a little video that we can see here today. It's the title of the film that we're going to see is Mosaic, and I would say let's start the film and see what you're up to when you're not here on stage with us in Berlin.
Antje, thank you very, very much for sharing this little movie with us. I mean, it's a little movie, but it's a beautiful movie, strong pictures and strong messages as well. And well, I know that you have not been on board of Polarstern. You've been on so many trips, but I know that these 600 people and 20 nations and so, I think they were very, very happy that you were not on board, that you were in Bremen and took care of all the problems you had to go through when you were organizing this mission. Huh? Can you really describe it a bit?
Yeah, it was very special because it was a year visit to the region around the North Pole, the Central Arctic, which is the warmest, the most warming region of Earth due to climate change. It is really amazing. And so the pictures that we have now, the understanding for a year, full year-round observation shows us that what we do as humans is connected to the rest of the planet and everywhere, even the most remote places. So normally people don't think of the North Pole as being connected to them, but I think these images show that it's all one planet and we just have this one planet. And our mission was about uncovering some of the enigmatic energy fluxes that we have in the North that explain why it's warming so fast.
I think that this expedition was a huge success. I mean, I think the whole world was following
Watching, yeah.
it. But I just wonder whether everybody knows what Mosaic stands for. I will tell you. It says Multidisciplinary Drifting Observatory for the Study of Arctic Climate. That's what it is.
Exactly.
Right? I mean, it was a technical, spectacular journey as well, wasn't it?
Right, because our ship Polarstern, which is now around 40 years old, went with this crew of scientists and technicians and polar bear watchers and everyone for a year into the Arctic. So we had planned to exchange them every 2 to 3 months, but then came the corona pandemic. But basically this challenge to go to a place where we have so little data, but which is so central to our climate, that was really the point of this mission.
So can you share some of those key findings with us, and maybe also what you're doing with that data now after the mission?
Yeah. So the state of the Arctic sea ice has become one of the key indicators for the state of our planet. Since I was a PhD student working up there, it has been much reduced in dimension, both in extension as well as volume and thickness. And we know that it's directly correlated to the CO2 emissions that we humans have put into the atmosphere. With Mosaic, we wanted to understand the full systemic interaction between the atmosphere, the ice, and the oceans and all life in it. And this was really the purpose of working together with 20 nations, having so many hundreds of scientists on board, and finding out how we can better predict our future by better understanding processes in the Arctic that have been hidden just because people don't go there in winter time. It's not accessible. It's an ocean with ice on top, has no meteorology stations. So all the data we have is from 125 years ago when Fridtjof Nansen was there in winter time around the North Pole region.
And then it was quite some colder at that time.
Yes, it was. We have figured out that it was 10 degrees colder on average at the winter time when Fridtjof Nansen was there compared to today. So when we are talking global shifts, global change, keeping the planet warming below 2 degrees, we have already measurements that show that in the Arctic regions we are far beyond. We also have data that show how dynamic the sea ice is. So it goes away, it melts rapidly in summertime, it freezes back in wintertime, but not to the original thickness and extent. So already during our time, so we are eyewitnesses of this dramatic change, and the Arctic that was there when I was a PhD student is no longer there.
I was just going to say, Antje, you've been experiencing this within your own lifetime. How does that feel? I wanted to ask, but like, what has that process been like for you to come there as a PhD student and to revisit and to see all this with your own eyes?
Yeah, it is basically having the data at hand that show how much parts of our planets are changing. And to say that even for the remote environments where we think this is nature, this is the nature we have preserved because so few people live up there in the central Arctic, so few people are around Antarctica. But then to be eyewitnesses, to know that our generation is the one which sees this type of Arctic for the last time, maybe the first generation that sees how the summertime sea ice goes away, melts out. All of these knowledges just we have to take our role as eyewitnesses very importantly. We need to preserve the information how a system of planet Earth works when it's not so warm, when it's not warmed by us humans. We also have to find solutions, and knowledge is part of the solution finding for sure, because we can make better predictions about climate, weather extremes that we are facing by having that knowledge.
I mean, the Arctic is a huge archive also for data, because you can measure data from hundreds of years ago and all these things. But I think that was not the core of the work you did this time. I mean, if you said 600 scientists, what kind of scientists? I mean, what kind of areas did they work on? I mean, it's so many.
It was really a little bit of an Archinoa of natural sciences. So we had, of course, the atmospheric scientists. Their role was to find out how rapid warming and cooling works in the atmosphere. Today, we speak sometimes of 40 degrees changes within a few days. We recently had that in Germany as well.
Yeah.
But in the Arctic, it has become really common. In wintertime, it can be plus degrees. Imagine that in summertime, they were present when it was above 30 degrees in Siberia, which is normally a frozen region. So these shifts, these immense shifts, how can energy be transported so fast in the atmosphere was their job. And then we had sea ice physicists, sea ice biologists. We had real biologists who were looking at the animals that we still have out there. We don't even know how exactly in the Arctic wintertime species survive when for 6 months there is no sunlight, hence there is no plant production. And then we had oceanographers who had to figure out what the role of the warming ocean is for melting sea ice or for changing the atmosphere, changing precipitation. So there was really something to do for everyone.
So there will be a huge series of papers coming up in the upcoming years. I mean, are there any plans to do something similar again, like in a couple of years? No, well.
Yeah, but it was such an expensive and large mission. It took since 2011 to prepare for it. And now we have data, I think, for many years to come, because for the first time, all of the data we have achieved are synchronous. They are have been worked on in parallel, so we can really figure out how some storms change the life under the ice, or how some of the life under the ice emits chemicals that we find in the atmosphere. So this connectivity of everything, it's the first time that we can do it, because we had all the modern sensors along with us.
I would be curious to find out a little bit more about the international collaboration. You said over 20 nations, sounds like a space mission, you know, like a huge thing.
Yes.
Can you just maybe fill us in a little bit about the background, how that came together, and also how it worked out in practice?
Yeah. So the atmospheric scientists started off that project. They had discussed it for a long time. We need all to come together to figure out processes that no one understands. And they are an international crowd. They have met at several conferences. We have received the proposal, can Polarstern, our German research vessel, serve the world to do this mission? And we were happy when we found the funds to support it. With the help of our Ministry for Research and Education, we were able to pull it through with the help of the Helmholtz Association. But the moment when the ship left off with those people, also young students and senior polar researchers, and I saw all of them. They came from Russia, from China, from all continents, basically. From Europe, everyone was there walking onto the ship and leaving for that mission, and it felt as it should be, that this one planet is looked after by a unity of humans. That's how it felt to me, and that's how I loved this mission very much, because it stayed that way even during the pandemic.
It's beautiful.
We will talk about science, politics, communication later on a little bit, but I mean, just one little thing here. I think you did a very good job in communicating this journey as well. Was that part of your plan, or was it by accident because the topic was just, you know, on the agenda?
No, we knew that because it was such a big mission, we wanted to bring the North Pole into the Wohnzimmer, into the homes of everyone worldwide. And so we had to team up with the best of the media people, photographers. We got a great photographer. She stays with us, Esther Horvath. We had great camera people. The UFA supported this mission by producing movies. We saw these little clips. So it was year-round accompanying camera teams with us. And it was so important, and it really worked hand in hand, because, again, just think for a moment, everyone who is listening now, these may be the pictures that last when the world is no longer that way. So our children and grandchildren will have those movies, will have those photographies of a planet like it could be, should be, and is maybe not. And that's important.
Maybe before we go into the next category, because we have to introduce our finalists, and just final question for this first section with you. Any new hopes, or rather frustration?
Well, there is always hope and frustration. I mean, today it was published, Germany has just made it with its climate goals for 2020. Due to the pandemic, we saved 8% energy or CO2 emissions, and we just right on the spot with our reduction in energy and CO2 emission. But we know that the pandemic will thankfully not last that long, and that's not the way to plan energy transformation. It is not. So there is hope that we all together can shape a better future, but there's also frustration that it takes so long and has already caused so much damage in the nature and with people.
Okay, that's a question about politics, about us.
Yes.
But it's also a bit a question of innovation, and that's why we now go back to
Category 2.
Category 2. Yeah? And it's up to me to introduce
It is Andreas.
our special partner of this wonderful project. It's Dr. Angela Wilkinson. She is Secretary General and CEO of the World Energy Council. Well, that's just what she is. But she is much more. She is a true friend of our project. She is a partner of our project, and the whole World Energy Council is partnering with the German Energy Agency for a couple of years now on this wonderful SET Award project. It's really a pleasure to work together with her and her team, and that's why I'm very, very happy that she is joining us from London and is now giving the finalists for this second category. And well, I think the floor is yours, Angela.
Good evening to all of you, and in particular to all the startups which have been selected to be part of the SET100 for 2021. My name is Angela Wilkinson, and I'm the Secretary General and CEO of the World Energy Council. We started up nearly 100 years ago as the world's first permanent energy organisation, As a community of common sense, we safeguarded an agenda of energy for peace. A century later, we are working across nearly 100 countries to enable energy for people and planet, and to secure more energy and climate neutrality. Our worldwide community comprises the full spectrum of the increasing diversity in energy systems worldwide, all sectors and all parts of the value chain and wider stakeholders, system designers, builders, operators, regulators, investors, and inventors. Our humanising energy agenda reflects the role of people in energy and a bigger and exciting story of energy, the future of more energy and climate neutrality, in which energy is not just another commodity or all about carbon, but the enabler of human progress. We welcome the new spirit of entrepreneurship in energy and also value the role of entrepreneurs. Energy matters today to everyone and everything. And we, the world energy community, share the purpose and passion which drives entrepreneurs. It's an honour for me to join you today to present the finalists of the Startup Energy Transition Award for 2021. I'd like to thank Andreas Kuhlman, CEO of the German energy agency Dana. Together we have created a global platform for energy innovation ecosystems, bringing together startups, energy firms, policymakers, investors, scholars and students to work together towards an inclusive and climate neutral energy future. Our humanising energy agenda highlights that the ways in which energy is being used, stored and produced are shifting in fast and fundamentally new ways. Demand-driven solutions and customer-centric systems are not just buzzwords, they are new directions. This is why we created a new category this year on energy demand to highlight startup energy entrepreneurs around the world who are working on demand-side innovation. The selection process has been tough. Despite the global pandemic, we've received an incredible number of high-quality applications. The improvements get better every year. Our first finalist for this category, and this is where it starts to feel a little bit like the Oscars, is Alum Energy from Australia. Their product is called SoulShare, and it works behind the meter to share the power generated from a single solar system to multiple apartments. Our second finalist is Standard Euler Incorporated from the United States. Their smart air delivery platform ensures that heating and cooling is delivered to rooms with people in them. This ensures energy efficient consumption, eliminates balance problems and helps occupants to stay comfortable in the process. Our third finalist in this category is the Kona Solutions AB from Sweden. Icono is a software company that does edge machine learning, which is clever stuff, enabling smart, self-learning and predictive features for machines, vehicles and other connected devices, the Internet of Things. Congratulations to Alum Energy, Standard Euler Inc. and Kona Solutions for making the finals. I wish each of you the best of luck, and whatever happens, we can join forces and humanise energy together.
Thank you, Dr. Angela Wilkinson,
and congratulations to the finalists from our side.
Music will save us. Music will save us. Music will save us. Music will save us.
Ladies and gentlemen, our next guest is a bit of a legend, and he's also helped turn other people into legends. Jim Rakete is a Berlin-based and born photographer, photolist, journalist, filmmaker, author, and producer. He has worked with world-famous artists and politicians. He brought the Neue Deutsche Welle musicians to a different stage of fame, but that's not what we're here to talk about tonight. Tonight, we want to explore Jim's engagement to support the climate movement and his new work in that field. Jim, like I said, you've traveled the world and lived in different places, so we're so excited that you're actually able to be with us in person here physically in Berlin today.
Yeah. And since you're in Berlin, Jim, we met a couple of times. We know each other for quite a while. And of course, we spoke about art and films and photographs, but actually, we basically spoke about politics. So that's why I can say you are very interested in politics, very interested in things which matter to the sake of the planet. And that's why I'm very happy to have you here.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So as I said, tonight we're going to focus on the work you've been doing recently in regard to highlighting the climate crisis and climate activists. And you also brought a little bit of a trailer or a clip of a film, your new film Now, for us to see tonight. So we're going to start by looking at that.
Choose to fail us, we will never forgive you.
We are in this together.
This is our time. This is our future. And I will do whatever it takes to protect our rights, to protect our planet, and to protect our people.
The most powerful lobbies in the world and the most powerful political institutions. We won't get anywhere in chaos. The big moves, they need to be thought through. It's a David against Goliath thing here. We need to think of resources that are unique. And this is for us, it's young voices, it's young minds, it's young people who have a right to have a future. No one can take this away from them. It's the strongest argument we have.
What do we want now? What do we want?
I get goosebumps seeing those pictures of pre-pandemic protests, and I'd like to start by asking you, what was the point in your life where you decided this is going to be the next topic you want to work on?
Actually, the book was offered to me by the author, Claudia Rinke, who had worked for the UN for a while, and then written this kind of script for this documentary. And I got really interested, but at the time we didn't know how big the movement would be. Mm-hmm. So we put her little dog in a bag, and I took my camera, and we went, and we took a look at the first rallies that there were out there for Fridays for Future. And it came to a tipping point where you could really sense that this was going someplace. And it was pretty clear that we wanted to do a film and give a voice to these young people and follow their path from a grassroots protest to the UN climate summit.
So you were there just as at the cusp of time, basically, to follow that process and accompany the movement, so to speak?
I got pulled into this, I could say, because when you start something like that, and there's a certain point where you cannot return, where you cannot,
walk away from it.
Yeah, you cannot walk away from it. You have to do it. And luckily enough, we found a producer who was interested in doing that, and then in a core time of 14 days or 3 weeks, I think. We shot the whole rest of the film with a very small crew.
It sounds like you got infected in a positive sense. Would you say, and this is a topic we'd like to delve on a bit later in more detail as well, that your role is as a journalist, as an observer, or that you see yourself as part of the movement, as supporting the movement through the work that you do?
No, it's not like that. I belong to a generation who caused this. So I can't wash that off my hands. That was one side of it, that I thought, I owe this some inspection, this whole thing. And the other thing was that I really wanted to give a voice to these people because they come from all different walks of life. You have the activists come from different fields with different experiences. They have one little thing in common, and that is, I'd say, a cause of climate justice. And there are many intersections of climate justice as such, because you have the generational conflict of leaving a world in such a bad state to young people who have to live with what we left. And we don't have to face these consequences anymore, but they will. That's one part of the problem, the generational part. And then there's the climate justice as it happens everywhere in the world. Like our wrongdoings are causing effects in countries that we don't even know.
Yeah.
And like the Maldives or whatever, it's a critical state right now. And we have to combine forces to get this fixed. And the young people, whatever they say is being judged from from higher ground all the time. Yeah, they are young people, they have a right to do so, but this is a new kind of discussion ever since Fridays for Future took the lead. It's a new discussion because they have a different culture of saying what they want. It's a more scientific approach than all the things before were, it's no longer just complaining.
Maybe one more question on that. You've seen different social movements in your time. I want to kind of dig a bit deeper on what you just said. Do you feel this is actually qualitatively new, the way that this generation is approaching their social activism and their environmental activism with the scientific approach, with the research approach, and with the different alliances they're building?
And not only the alliances, but also the fact that most of the spokespeople from the movements are women. Mm-hmm. And that sets a different sound, to everything. So you look at it in a different way all of a sudden.
So I think this is, tonight's topic is multiperspectivity, and I had a chance to watch the whole movie. Unfortunately, it's not yet out because of Corona.
Yeah, it's frozen. It's frozen.
It's probably coming soon. We talk about this later on. You had many perspectives in the movie, but one target is that what one could say, a multi-perspectivity from all over the world, but a clear common target?
Actually, we had this route that the activists were going, from a grassroots movement to the UN. That was like the frame for the whole thing. narrative. But apart from that, I get pretty infected by the idea of climate justice. Just the thought of that, when you dig deeper into that thought. I mean, how dare we live like we do? How dare we talk about it and not do enough? It's amazing. And we had that highlight, in New York. We came to New York, and this happened right in front of our camera. That Trump stood up and left the room, and Greta had her speech, which was delivered in quite an effective way, I have to say.
Since we have both of you here on stage, and there is this science aspect of the last 2 or 3 years, which really has become a strong focus, and then this strong movements. And if you see these pictures from that movie, you think, Antje, that it really went hand in hand over that time, and is it a strong alliance also you feel between these young people and the work you do?
Yeah, I mostly felt that alliance not so much as a scientist, but because when I was a kid, we went to the streets and protested against atomic war and chemical warfare. And that was also on scientific ground, because it just makes no sense. And it is also an aspect of justice. Who is doing what to whom and what does it cost? And you have lived through protests where it was against fascism in universities and other things. So I think the street protest of a young generation that wants a different future is something that belongs to us. And that is a very healthy thing, because it gets us to where we want, to a future we want. And so we should not abolish it and say, that's just young people, because we have been in that age and we've also had reasons to worry about our future. So there it goes hand in hand.
But there is a pretty strong focus on the science issue, though. Of course, it always was, also in former times. But I think this time I see all these not only young people, but very much interested in really understanding what is the reason, what are the technologies available, and they even do studies and things like that.
Of course, because it's not only about human life. So this time it's about all life on the planet. So the changes that are already there, just look at our forests, is connected to all life on Earth, and that has a different angle, a different perspective.
Yeah, we look forward to continuing discussion with both of you in a few minutes, but we're going to insert the announcements for the finalists in the third category in the meanwhile. And the third category is energy distribution and storage. So we're very proud to welcome Hinrich Tolken for the speech and announcement of these finalists here with us on stage today. Hinrich Tolken is a specialist for international digitization policy and international climate and environment policy. Hinrich Tolken has represented Germany in several countries, including in continents in Africa and North America as an ambassador, and he's also represented Germany as in different multilateral organizations, so including the FAO, the WFP, and IFAD in Italy. Today, he is the Director for International Climate and Energy Policy and Digital Transformation here at the Federal Foreign Office. It's great to have you here today with us, Hinrich.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Hinrich Tolken. Thank you, Hinrich, for being with us. You're very experienced, what we could just hear from Geraldine. But I need to ask you first, of course, what is your impression of the conference so far? Are you satisfied with the way it approaches?
I love it. It's great. It's the first time we do it in a full hybrid or virtual way, but I'm amazed how well it functions and how much energy is flowing across the virtual channels. I would never have expected this.
Well, you are working a lot on transformations in different countries, on the different aspects. Is there anything you see which everybody has in common, which you would like to highlight, or is there just a different variety of transformations we see all over the world?
I think we need a lot of transformation, and transformation in various sectors. One refers to coal. Coal has been the original driver of our industrialization some 100 years ago, 200 years ago. But now we should put coal to rest. We should get out of coal because it is the most polluting fossil fuel that we have. I think the second transformation we need is to really ratchet up our ambition on our way towards the next climate conference in the COP26 in Glasgow in November this year. We should use all the opportunities and all the dialogues that we have to make the country's targets more ambitious, even more ambitious. And the third transformation, I think, is the most crucial one. It's perhaps a transformation from the old fossil mindset to a new sustainable, renewable mindset. And this is needed to really take the right policy decisions. So a multifaceted transformation, if you so will.
Right, and I mean, since I'm having you here, it's no longer an issue only for the environment minister or for the minister of energy. It's also a topic for the foreign ministry all over the world, I must say, isn't it?
Definitely. I mean, energy and climate have become key questions of foreign policy. And this is not only about, let's say, sectoral policies looking at power production or at heating or cooling. It's also about, let's say, the global international order. It's about the international ranking of nations. It's also a question of power in the end.
All right. And it's also a question of technologies. And that's why you're here today, because you will introduce the next 3 finalists in our category on energy distribution and storage solutions. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you. Okay. It is with great pleasure that I'm now announcing this year's finalists in the category Energy Distribution and Storage. We have seen a dramatic drop in prices for storage solutions in recent years, yet this is only just the beginning. And there's still a lot of room for improvements, not just around costs, but also with materials that we are using for storage solutions. So the first finalist is Acure Battery Intelligence from Germany. Acure makes batteries safe, reliable, and sustainable using cloud computing. Building on a highly scalable web platform, battery manufacturers and operators can manage and optimize their battery systems without the need for additional hardware. The second finalist is Evergen from Australia. Evergen builds software optimizing energy storage systems and orchestrating large fleets of batteries to enable virtual power plants. And the third finalist is the most difficult to pronounce. I suppose it's Empassimont from Belgium. Empassimont develops innovative dynamic line rating systems for transmission and distribution system operators made of standalone sensors that are coupled to software interfacing with dispatching centers. Congratulations to all the finalists and good luck for everything that is lying ahead of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Tölken. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Herr Tölken, and congratulations to the finalists from us.
Thank you.
There are 2 things that don't have to mean anything. One is music, and the other is laughter. Don't have to mean anything, that is, in order to give us very deep pleasure. Don't have to mean anything, that is, in order to give us very deep pleasure. Deep pleasure. Deep, deep, deep pleasure. Deep, deep pleasure. Deep, deep, deep pleasure. Deep, deep, deep pleasure. Deep, deep, deep pleasure.
Thank you so much, Ain. I want to get back to what you were saying earlier, Jim, because it really resonated with me about this movement having something that's qualitatively new. And you met Greta and you met Louisa when doing this documentary, so I hope you can verify my assumption. I feel like, first of all, these are already tech-savvy and media-savvy young people who know what they're doing and what message they're putting out in the world, really well-informed and really alert and aware. And I'm also personally very excited to see so much female leadership and this idea of intersectionality between feminism and climate change as well. So maybe you can share a little bit of your experience of meeting some of these thought leaders and whether this is the case that this is really their chance to unite social movements maybe different than other social movements of the past that fall apart over differences because they have this one big cause that is so clear to all of them.
Yeah, there was one thing that interested me. How did this movement stop so many times? I mean, you mentioned it too. There were like so many warning signs and writings on the wall. There was the oil crisis in the mid-70s, then we had the Club of Rome report. We had all kinds of moments where we could have stopped and think about it. And for some reason, it got blown over. And I think the past 2 decades, we were kind of sleepy about it because we got so much new technology.
Yeah.
And, that's when you're a techie, you like all that stuff. You like all this stuff. You like the blue rail technology. You like all that digital promise, and you want to have it that way. But at the same time, we used more and more and more and more energy, and we emitted even more CO2 all the time. And we got a little bit weary about that. We didn't pay attention, and it was about time when the big fires started and when the temperature rose. It was about time to do something about it. And here comes a whole new generation of protesters who don't stop, at the idea of boots on the ground, but who also have this great ability to network with each other. So that was important. These people from all different movements on different topics, and some scientists who built an alliance with them and who made clear what this is all about, like this race between ecology and economy right now. That's what we're seeing. I mean, it's like a showdown, right?
Yeah.
But maybe, Antje, if I may ask you, because, I mean, we had former social movements on environmental issues as well. I mean, we had this huge Earth Summit 1992, 30 years ago almost, and then we had Paris, we had Kyoto, we had the Paris Agreement, and so many other things. We had the Pope writing this Laudato Si, and other religions were active as well. Is it maybe the case that this new movement just came on the right time, so everybody had kind of a feeling that, well, I mean, we are doing wrong, but somebody really has to tell us again. Is it something like this, or how would you describe it?
Well, so we have a lot of young scientists who are also part of the movement, and when we discuss together, they say for them it is not solved yet. So they are loud and clear, but they measure themselves, their impact. They measure it by the CO2 in the atmosphere, and so far there has not been a turn of CO2. We are seeing now an effect on CO2 emissions, but mostly by the pandemic. It has globally declined CO2 emissions by 7 to 8%, just because mobility broke down by 70% and consume broke down a little bit. And we are all clear about this. The future, the solution has to come together still. It's not organized yet.
So there's this fear of backlash, of course, after COVID as well. And also the issue that, of course, in the midst of this pandemic, with all our short attention spans and the media overload, this topic is not on the top of everybody's agenda. how are you trying to stop that? I know maybe also with your work of Scientists for Future that you're targeting policymakers, and also maybe with the course of this film and your hopes of who it's going to reach. Maybe you can both share a little bit how you hope that we can try to maintain this dynamic and momentum and not let the pandemic and the maybe backlash after the hopefully end of the pandemic get in the way of climate improvement, let's say.
Actually, I have two hopes. First of all, I see a different kind of behavior towards climate amongst young people. If you look at the Shell studies, you know, there was always, for decades, there were cars in, you know, on the wish list of every young person. Gone.
Yeah.
Gone. Then there was, you know, there was like everybody traveling was so big. And right now, when you look at it, this has changed in a big way. It hasn't changed in the older generation as much as I would hope for. What I do see, though, is one thing that gives me courage to follow this all along, and that is that the growth of world population is slowing down much earlier than any scientist expected. That's like the time joker that we have. It's not getting as fast as we thought it would. It was like predicted that this would explode during this decade, if I'm not totally mistaken, up to 2050, and it slowed down miraculously. So we have a little bit of a chance. It's against all odds, but still we have a chance. And if we do the right legislative work, if we do the right, if we find the right behavior towards CO2, we can do a lot. And innovation is a big part of it.
I think the scientific point is that we can now really well calculate how much CO2 we can still emit before we reach the above 2 degree warming compared to the 1950s, which makes a big difference to all of us, especially also Germany, many countries, because of drought, because of extreme weathers, because of flooding and all of the other results. If you take that amount and if we divide it by the annual emission of CO2, we can see that we have maybe 10 years before we reach an amount of CO2 in the atmosphere that causes 2 degrees warming, because Earth is also responding to warming. We know it from Earth's history. When it gets warmer, the soil, the forest, everything emits more CO2. And so that scientific knowledge helps us at least to say exactly where do we have to change, where are the biggest step in transition. So that's an important agreement that we have with the youth and scientists. If we just have that little time, we have to look for the big screws. We have to turn the big wheels, not the tiny little small ones. And in there, it has been mentioned this evening, we don't have to use coal anymore. We don't. We have to use much more regenerative energies. We are able to use them. But foremost, and I agree exactly what was said in the beginning, we have to create a political framework in which working climate neutral is awarded, is incentivized, and not punished. We are working in a world, all of us, where to be sloppy with the environment, to be bad with CO2 emissions is actually the cheapest, most likely, most comfortable way you can live your life. Good politics is to change that, to give us a framework in which we operate safe and green and for the future. But it's not solved yet.
No, it's fine. But sometimes I wonder whether we do have the right focus here. Because, I mean, I would imagine, like in 1992, Rio, since then, the emissions in Europe went down 27%, in Germany 40%, but in the whole world, 55% or even more annual up. So, I mean, is there a risk that we are not seeing what is happening outside our own country? Do we need a broader perspective, or you don't think so?
I don't think so. We have just had the best experience of all, and that was the Corona experience, where you could, no, really, I'm serious. You could see what we're able to do. Everybody around the globe. And if you're willing to do it, and that gives me hope. That gives me hope that people stand up for what they believe in and do the right thing. right here.
And just same perspective for you?
Well, absolutely. I mean, in a way, yes, we have evidence that if we don't fly anymore, we save 3% of the global emissions. If we consume less, it's another 2 or 3%. But that's not the big wheel that I'm talking about. I'm talking about the entire energy hunger that we have. And of course, we can measure it. There is no other huge challenge or problem where we can exactly measure all the time what we are doing as humanity. And of course, it's the sum of our countries. It doesn't really matter which country is saving CO2. It matters to the atmosphere and the warming that CO2 is saved. But we carry our load, as you said correctly. Germany has already used up its CO2 part in the atmosphere, so to say. So if we continue as we do, we have to find partners who help us to have not more of a CO2 debt. There are solutions to that, but it's all in the politics, I would say.
And there is a blind spot, I should say. There's a blind spot here, and that is what we call streaming. What we're doing tonight is extremely costly in energy and in CO2. And I think it's a blind spot because people don't want to see it. People don't want to see it because they think it's all cool. The iPhone is there. Everybody has a flat rate, and there should be a price tag on that because it's nearly as much as flight fuel.
That's true. I mean, there are lots of blind spots. But on the other hand, and unfortunately, we have to finish this wonderful discussion. The first time both of you on stage, and not the last time, I hope. But my thoughts here are, before I let you finish this part here, is, I mean, if things start moving, then they might suddenly move very fast, and that's the hope I do have at the moment. But now you don't reply to this because it's up to you now, Geraldine.
Oh, I have a bunch of questions I would have still loved to discuss with you. I think you raised such interesting topics, also about the ambivalence of technology in the sense of maybe having detracted our attention for the past decades, but this new generation maybe buying into a new value set also because of dematerialization and technology, or the correlation between female education and stopping the world population grow, again, that intersection of feminism and climate change. So I do also hope, I agree, Andreas, that we can both get you back on stage together for a longer conversation soon. And just want to say thank you so much for being here with us tonight and for the work that you do, and all the best for the continuation of that in the next months and years. Thank you.
Thank you.
So now we're going to smoothly transition into the fourth category, the announcement of the finalists into the fourth category. And that is smart mobility and transportation. For this, I am excited to welcome back on stage virtually Dr. Angela Wilkinson, Secretary General and CEO of the World Energy Council. Over to you, Angela.
Good evening to all of you once again. It is a very exciting night, and there's a real sense of amazing possibilities as we hear from the impressive energy startups which have made it to the finalists in their categories. There is a lot of talk these days about the race to zero agenda. At the Council, we like to talk instead about the races to zeros, because there are multiple pathways in multiple geographies playing out across the world. We know we also need to work with sectors of the economy which are hard to decarbonise or can't yet be fully electrified. One of these, of course, is the transportation sector. The excitement of faster electric cars can sometimes distract from creative approaches to infrastructure, public planning, logistics, user behaviours, shipping and freight, and other modes of transport which are also part of the sustainable mobility future. This is why we created the Smart Mobility and Transportation category. I'm very pleased to announce the 3 finalists which have made it through to this category. The first one is Kraftwerk Tubes from Germany. Kraftwerk has developed a new compact fuel cell, advanced SOFC, revolutionising the whole mobility sector. It runs on hydrogen and several hydrocarbons. The second finalist is ChargeX from Germany. Their aqueduct system is designed for charging in underground parking garages and employee parking lots. Their solutions enable infrastructure providers to set up and later scale up large-scale charging infrastructure affordably and with little installation effort. And the third finalist in the Smart Mobility and Transportation category is Duct from Estonia. Their internationally patented infrastructure solutions for micromobility provide a way to dock, lock and charge electric scooters and other micromobility vehicles, whether shared, public or private, in one place. I wish the best of luck to all three finalists and look forward to engaging with all of you in the coming months to join forces in humanising energy together.
Thank you so much, Angela, and congratulations to the finalists. Ladies and gentlemen, just a quick reminder that this is your sort of last chance, the next 15 to 20 minutes that we have of the show, to send Ain the Machine your sound bites so he can use them and create the final piece of audio artwork that he's going to share with us at the end of the night. So keep them coming. And now, as we established, we are facing multi-dimensional challenges that also require multi-perspectivity to achieve solutions. So it's not enough to focus down on energy in a narrow sense. We need a bigger picture, which is why for our last interview guest, we are very excited to welcome Professor Maria Chiara Pastore. She conducts research on city development and is also Special Commissioner of SISMA, an Italian government initiative for post-earthquake reconstruction. Currently, she is working hand in hand with Stefano Boeri to integrate living nature in cities, and she's developing urban forest strategies. And what exactly urban forest strategies are, Maria is going to share with us now. Before we begin with our conversation, we're going to see a short film that's going to introduce her work. Such impressive images. So welcome to the show, Maria. It's great to have you with us today.
Thank you so much. I'm very happy. Thank you so much.
Maria, we just saw that beautiful building. Can you tell us where that lives?
So that building is the Vertical Forest in Milan. It was opened up to the public in 2014. And it's for us the first prototype where nature and architecture can structurally be combined together. Where that building hosts 800 trees and 5,000 shrubs, and a number of small birds have their nest in the building. So it's a kind of a prototype also for biodiversity. So that's one of the enhancer that we are trying to create in a dense environment at the city of Milan.
It looks beautiful and it makes so much sense, and I feel like we desperately need some urban forestry here in Berlin. I would love to learn how this prototyping worked. Is there a lot of convincing that you have to do, especially on a policy level, when introducing these kind of concepts of urban forestry and piloting such buildings in city centers?
So I think that one of the main issues is to convince sometimes the client that the cost can be considerably balanced by introducing also living nature, because one of the main issues is then the maintenance of the building. Is it higher? Is there any structural issue that trees can have? But the question is, we have done the first prototype in Milan, and then we are now working in Eindhoven, for example, and we have building, and it's under construction at the moment. I think I can show some of the picture. I think that you have it, or I can move it, I don't know. But we have this building, which is the first experiment of vertical forest with social housing, with precast concrete as a way of reducing the cost. So that's the first prototype. And in Eindhoven, so it's happening now, and we have precast concrete building raising, and the construction site images show really that is also a way to having trees and nature embedded in the structure with reasonable costs.
Maria, just one question. I mean, these huge buildings are spectacular, certainly. They're wonderful, and I imagine that it is a lot of work to convince people, mayors, and planning to get these buildings done. But you know, I liked all the little messages you had in the movie on this big building, and there I could see that it doesn't always need to be such a huge building. There are so many options to have the ideas implemented in cities. Is that one part of your message as well?
Yeah, the overall project behind the video was the call to action, because in 2018 we had the pleasure to be a co-organizer of the first World Forum on Urban Forest. So we organized this event in order to have very diverse background working together for a unique cause, providing nature and having nature in the city. So this is the main cause, and buildings are one of the most important elements for us as architects in order to rebring nature within our environment. We have the technology. The change we need to do is to convince humans that we need to have nature and trees in our environment in a structural way.
Yeah, I mean, and I think the building sector is really getting into the focus right now, because we see it's not so easy to change something with existing buildings. And we had Ursula von der Leyen. She was speaking at our conference here today, and she was speaking about a Bauhaus of the planet, even so a new way of thinking architecture. I mean, do you see changes in city plannings? I mean, do you see a different spirit coming up where ideas like yours are very much better received than maybe like 5 years ago?
It has been, yes, the world is changing. I think that one of the issues, of course, more awareness about climate change. But I also think that, for example, the European Union is creating, with the new Green Deal, is creating a strong sense of what is important in our city. So for example, we are working in Milan, in Greater Milan, to an urban strategy that has a huge claim, have 3 million trees in the city of Milan by 2030. And that program is called Forestami. And the idea is not to just that only the public is working towards having more green city, but everybody. So it's a huge issue also to have people in the same page and have everybody on the cause of greening the city. And for that, we have been studying very diverse city, Melbourne, Paris, New York, Shanghai, but also Freetown, for example. And all these cities are now launching this cause, and the tree campaign are really spurring all over the world. And I think that this is a very good sign. Trees cannot harm our city, so it's a very good sign, a positive sign of change.
Whilst we're on the topic of current trends and changes in urban planning, I would love to ask you, there's a lot of debate at the moment about how COVID is going to affect city life in future and how we may rethink our inner city centers in terms of the balance between office space, living space, recreational space, etc. Are you already factoring that into your work in some ways?
Yes, one of the major issues that in Italy we had is that during the lockdown, we could not really go into huge green spaces. So the proximity of green spaces was seminal, and it is seminal in our city. Not everybody has the chance to reach a park into the 300 meters, which was the kind of COVID restriction that we had at the time last year. So that was a very key point. So everybody should access to a green space. And I think that a lot of policies need to change and will change in order to have continuous green spaces to change our life and to change the quality of our city. So that will be important also for the urban Italian. It will be important for the biodiversity, it will be important to green infrastructure, but it also will be important for our life as humans.
Absolutely. You mentioned Eindhoven. Are there any other current projects or things that you might like to feature where we can see some of your work popping up next?
Oh, yes. It's in China. We have 2 construction sites, Wangang and Nanjing. In Tirana, we are working very much on schools. We have a huge master plan, which is called the Riverside, where the change, it will be the first post-COVID master plan, which will be, of course, considering energy aspects and also the quality of the green spaces, for example. And in Cancun, we're now planning a forest city, a space where nature is not just embedded in the building, but it is a structural element in the master plan.
Maria, thank you very much for joining us here. I think that fits perfect in what we're discussing tonight, multi-perspectivity. We need different perspectives on the way we live in cities, on the way we act, and that was very, very helpful. Thank you very much, and all the very best regards to the whole team you're working with.
Thank you so much. It has been a real pleasure. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
And ladies and gentlemen, with that, it's already time for the final and 5th category that we'll be announcing the finalists for tonight. And that final category is Quality Energy Access and the Sustainable Development Goal 7. Yes, so we've just talked about approaches to restructure our cities with an outlook to a more sustainable future. And I'm very excited to hear now our startup technology can offer help to really create access to people who may be cut off from energy today and creating more equality across the globe. We've been talking a lot about seeing this as a whole world and a global endeavor rather than just focusing on the locality and the countries that we're in individually. And we have the perfect person here to present this final category and give the speech and present the finalists tonight. As a former Minister of Social Affairs and former Minister of the Environment, Nature Protection and Transportation of the state of Baden-Württemberg, our presenter, Tanya Gunner, is really an expert on environmental issues. But at the same time, she is also one of the leading figures in Germany for development cooperation, as since 2012, she's been the chairwoman of the management board of the Deutsche Gesellschaft für internationale Zusammenarbeit. That's why we're very honored to have Tanya Gunner here as part of the show tonight.
And I must say that GIZ, she's heading off, is also a strong partner of this project. We have many projects from all over the world, and we are very much working together with the GIZ. So thank you very much to the whole team over there.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. What an inspiring night. As chair of the management board of the GIZ, Deutsche Gesellschaft für internationale Zusammenarbeit, I am thrilled to be a part of tonight's celebration of innovation in the energy sector. The GIZ has long worked closely with the German Energy Agency as a proud partner for accelerating the global energy transition globally. I cannot wait to announce the 3 remaining finalists for the Startup Energy Transition Award 2021. Climate action is needed from everyone: policymakers, citizens, the entrepreneurial community. The finalists that have just been announced are living proof that the energy transition can count on promising startups to shape the future of clean energy. Sustainable development, poverty reduction, and climate policy are closely linked. At the GIZ, we seek to promote global economic progress while at the same time fostering social justice and the conservation of natural resources and ensuring that no one is left behind. The UN Sustainable Development Goal 7 demands that we ensure access to affordable, reliable, sustainable, and modern energy for all. This is an ambitious goal, considering that many people around the world don't have sufficient access to clean energy. Innovative business models are needed that challenge the way in which we think about and cooperate with rural areas that so far remain disconnected from the energy grid. This is why the category Quality Energy Access and SDG 7 calls for startups that empower communities. Without further ado, I am honored to now announce this year's SET finalists for the category Quality Energy Access and SDG 7. The first finalist is S4s Technologies from India. The solar conduction dryer they invented is an electricity-free solar-powered food dehydrator that reduces moisture content in agro-produce so that farmers and rural residents can preserve their products for up to 1 year without using any chemicals. Many votes were also given to a German startup, Boreal Light. The company designs and manufactures affordable solar water desalination systems for high-quality water for off-grid communities around the globe. I'm happy to announce also Nithio Holdings from the United States as a finalist for the SDG 7 category. Nithio is an energy finance platform that provides services to distributed energy service companies, capital providers, governments, and other stakeholders in the distributed solar energy sector in Africa. On behalf of GIZ, my warmest congratulations to the finalists.
Thank you, Ms. Gunner.
Thank you so much, Tanya, and congratulations to the finalists. Andreas, what an evening it's been. I feel that we did not promise our audience too much when we said we have some really special speakers here with us tonight. At least I really exchanged the dialogue and exchange of perspectives on multi-perspectivity with you and our guests. And I'm also really thrilled about the finalists that we have for this year's SET Awards, and can't wait till September to find out who wins.
Yeah, same for me. And thank you very much, all of you, for joining us. And thanks for all the startups applying in this award, because that's core of the whole project. Thanks for our wonderful speakers. I think we met many, by the way, mostly women, huh?
Good job.
on stage and also in the internet on a virtual basis. So for me, it was a pleasure. I learned a lot, and I like to work and learn a lot on conferences like this.
Same here, same here. So I hope everybody's really enjoyed tonight. And who would have thought that the hardest party in town is happening at the Hauptstadt Residenz of Deutsche Telekom? But it definitely is. So now we're excited to hear what audio samples you sent in and what Eine Machine did with that. And so let's dance it out. Have a great evening, everybody, and see you in September.
But before we go to the music, maybe tomorrow, there's a second part of the conference, as you know. So I would like to invite you on behalf of the German government to really enjoy this conference and also meet people in the formats we do have, business to dialogue conferences, startup pitches. There's so many activities in this Berlin Energy Week. Once again, thank you very much. And here we go.
BETD21, 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 BETD21,
Energy transition.
Hydrogen is the new oil. Hydrogen is the new oil.
Energy.
transition energy.